We have already made this mini album in a previous video. Now we're going to decorate it together. So let's get started. Hi everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums, and today we're going to do the decorating of this 6.5 by 8.5 mini album. There is a previous video showing you the tutorial on how to make this. So if you want to do the construction of the mini album, go check that out. The link is in the description box. I've chosen to use the Winnie the Pooh Christmas paper from Echo Park. It's a really pretty paper collection with some of the quotes that Winnie the Pooh would say applied to Christmas. I also picked up coordinating solids. Now, if you don't have a collection with coordinating solids, just go through your stash and find some solids that will work with what you have. This paper collection has 12 double-sided papers. It had some cut-aparts in it, specifically 4x4 because I do use those a lot. I also will use some 4x6s and some 3x4s. The 3x4s I'll probably use all of those. I don't think there was anything. Well, yeah, I did. So sometimes I'll cut apart the cut aparts and use them all, but actually in this case I wanted to use what was on the back side, so I will just use, I think, this top line of the cut aparts, and the rest of it I will be using for decorating the album. Let me start from the beginning. So this is, again, a 6.5 by 8.5 mini album with 5 signatures, 5 pages. Some of those pages have elements to them that need more than, say, one set of papers. For instance, here we've got a flap, and then this has a flap with a pocket. So usually you can say, like here, which has just 2 side-loading pockets, you just need maybe 2 sheets of paper or 2 different paper designs, one for in the pocket and one for outside of the pocket. But of course you have to pay attention when you have more than one, which is why this book doesn't have too many different elements, too many flaps, because I wouldn't be able to use just a 12-page collection. I would have to get 2 of them, or maybe 2 different collections, or 2 of the solids. I don't know. It just depends. Now, I have been able to use, with my Modest Scrap traditional Christmas book, I was able to use just the papers in it, but this was a more simplistic mini album. I mean, it just really is the design. The design is very minimalistic. That's how I describe it. So I had to be really careful with that on cutting my papers. With this one, I have a little more leeway, thank goodness. That being said, I do a lot of times sketch out what I'm going to do. Now, I don't expect you to be able to read this, but I just want you to see that what I'll do is just draw a rectangle for each of the pages. I don't include front and back cover, but I do make a note of what I want to do for it, and just decide what I'm going to use. This will help me actually cut it, and it actually helps speed up the process because there's several pages in here that you just need one piece to cover the 6 by 8 page. So you'll cut it 5 7/8 by 7 7/8, and I know that I need, I think, 4 of those for this book, so I could just go ahead and cut those down and then see what I have left. As I said, though, I did plan this pretty specifically just to utilize the paper and carry the themes that I wanted to carry. Another thing that I will do is take a look at the elements that I can use for focal points. So it might be what's on the sticker sheet. It might be what is on the cut aparts. In this case, I did use the cut aparts for focal point and then tried to look and see what I can do to carry that focal point on the page. I like to have a focal point for each set of pages being that these are simple pages. Now, if I had a more complex page, like this one, which has flaps and whatever, I might choose to do 2 focal points, one for this page and one for this. But a simple page like this really is just going to have 1 focal point. The pockets actually will be 1 focal point here. On this page, this pocket will be the focal point because I made this so you could use a 4x4 piece of paper. Okay, so once I've determined the focal point for each page, so here, so this is perfect for a 4x6 cut apart. So knowing that, I'll take a look at my 4x6 cut aparts and determine which one I want. I'm going to look at my, I decided to use the snowflake landed on his nose because then I can take paper to coordinate with that. And I think I chose this paper to go along with that, either that one or this one. I'll have to double check and see which one it was. But so then if I know this is going to be the focal point here, then I know what paper I'm going to use here, and that also will help me figure out what paper to use there. So to determine what I'm going to use, basically I'll look at the page, determine what the focal point is, find an element for the focal point, and then coordinate around that. So that being said, I'm going to cut out some paper and we're going to start gluing. All right, so a couple of things to note. First of all, when I've cut the paper, I just grab a little bit of ATG. Now you could use some temporary adhesive and just tack it on and sort of save the place for where it's going to be. That way I can just go through and glue everything all at once, and that will save time. And then plus I can sit and do that while I'm watching hockey or something like that. The other thing is I won't do the covers until the very end. Now I might cut the paper and paper clip it and put it aside, but I like the covers not to get scratched or moved around or glue on it or anything. So I do the covers the very last thing. And I've already made a list ahead of time of all of the papers that I'm going to cut for full sheets, like the 6 and 7/8, I'm sorry, 5 and 7/8 by 7 and 7/8. So I'll go ahead and cut all those and put them in the pages just so the easy stuff is done. All right, I've got all of the paper cut. So I'm going to go through and show you what we've got, talk about measurements, and talk about the covers. And then what I'll do is then I'll go through and add all of the little cut aparts and stickers, and I'll show you what I've done and give you measurements for that. Incidentally, the measurements for decorating are in my coffee shop, but if you don't want to purchase that file, then just grab a pencil and write it down. So the front cover, now I did use some white cardstock that did not come from the collection or the solids. I just grabbed it from my stash. The cover is 6.5 by 8.5, so this is 6 3/8 by 8 3/8. The white is at least. And then I cut this red 6 inches, actually 6 by 6, no, 6 by 5.5. This plaid is 6, it's by 2 1/4, and then I covered it with just this 1/2 inch strip that is 6 inches by 1/2 inch strip. So what I'm going to do for the cover is I've gone through all of the cut aparts, and I actually didn't find anything that I wanted to use as the cover. There are a couple of things you could use from the sticker sheet. You know, you could do this Christmas. You could do the Pooh. I don't know, but there wasn't anything that I really loved. So what I do sometimes is use the cover sheet. Now this, of course, is a flimsy paper, so I have to reinforce it. So what I'm first going to do is cut around the Winnie the Pooh. I have a real sharp craft knife, so I'm going to cut around this. I'm about 1/4 of an inch away from the actual part that I'm going to use. And cut this. So when I know I'm going to use this, I'll treat this paper real carefully, keep it in the plastic or whatever, just because, like I say, it's flimsy paper. So here I've got that. And then I'm going to grab double-sided adhesive. I use my Scrapbook.com double-sided adhesive, and I'm going to lay this on here. And then I'll cut this off. I'm going to take my tool and burnish on the back. And then I'll trim this down. Alright, so there we have what I can use for the cover. So I could, do I want to put it on like that? I could do that, or I could add another layer. I don't know that another layer will actually do anything, so I am just going to center this on here. Actually, before I do that, I am going to ink the edge. I'm not inking a lot in the book, but I am going to ink the edge. And then I'll peel off the backing and center this on. And luckily I've got a plaid, so I can use that to line it up. I'm going to go up a little higher. All right. And then I am going to add, no. I was going to add that, but it's a little too repetitive. So I could add, no, Tigger's too repetitive. Pooh, I could add the tree. All right, so that is it. Now again, I'm not going to add this yet because I'm going to wait until I get the rest of the book together. I also have this for the spine. This piece measures, it's 2 1/4 by 8 3/8, and then the inside is 2 1/8 by 8 3/16. Yes, weird measurement. Anyhow, I'll put that aside and leave that till later. Okay, now inside the front cover, I cut another piece of white cardstock. It's 6 3/8 by 8 3/8 because I needed something to put this on. This was smaller than the book, so I just wanted a little bit of a border. This is a 4 by 6 cut apart. This is 6 inches by 4 7/8. I didn't add anything else to the waterfall, but you are welcome to do that if you want. This Winnie the Pooh is 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. I will add a sticker to this probably backed on cardstock and used as a tuck spot. So this blue is 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. These are 4 by 4. So what I did is cut all of the 4 by 4 cut aparts, and this is the back of the cut apart. Now I did also use some plain blue cardstock. So 4 by 4, and this is 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. I will talk about the hidden pockets in a little bit. Okay, so this page I had a little, it didn't come out like my plan. Let me say that. So I'm going to have to add an element on the front here, another sort of focal point. Didn't come out because I had decided to use this plaid because I thought that plaid was gorgeous. But the accompanying paper was this. I don't like the plaid with that. There's no green in here, there's no blue in there. So to me it just didn't work. So no harm, no foul. I turn this over. That's why I don't glue things right away, because I can play with it for a little bit. And then turn this over. And like I said, so now I need a focal point because this paper here would have been good. So that, again, no harm, no foul. I'll come up with something. Oops. Before I move on, I'll give you the measurements real quick. The front flap is 5 3/8 by 7 7/8. You'll need one for the front, one for the back. The pocket, you'll need a piece to decorate 3 7/8 by 7 7/8. An inside pocket, my piece is 5 7/8 by 7 7/8, but you could have it, 3 inches if you don't want to have it all the way through the pocket. You'll see it in the next walkthrough. But this was going to be the focal point for the pages because it had Pooh and his friend, so that's why I used this paper, which might be called Winnie the Pooh's Friends. I don't know. That's okay here, and the green and all that ties in together. So I'm going to leave that. I think I might need to cut this down. This is 4 by 4, but I'm going to need to cut it down 4 by 3 7/8. This is 3 7/8, and it just goes up to here. It's by 6. This is 3 7/8 by 7 7/8. This is, again, the back of this paper. I had planned to use that. Don't know if you noticed, but the dots go in a different direction. You might not see that. That's the kind of thing that would bother me, but it's okay. This is 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. So here I messed up on this page, but you can't tell. I should have made this 7 7/8 and then cut it in half, basically, to 5 7/8. So I had 2 of those. I cut it short. I think I cut it 6 7/8. So then I had to cut it so it doesn't go all the way into the pocket, but that's okay. These are each 2 5/8 by 7 7/8. I will add another element to these pages. Then we come to the stacked pocket. So here's the plain blue cardstock. These are 5 7/8 across. This is 2 7/8. This one actually goes down further. It's 3 1/2, and this goes down further. It's 3 1/2 also. This is 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. And then this is pieced together. Because this is this side. Now I wanted to use this piece going across and that. So that's what I did. But I cut this plaid in the thickness I needed, which is 6 1/8. And then I cut it to fit the back here. which is 7 1/4. So then I had pieces, but they go in different directions. See this? Since it's a plaid, since it's a pattern, it will work in either direction. Now, these don't match, you know, I mean, the plaid doesn't go all the way through, but if I didn't say anything, you probably wouldn't have noticed. So I just had to cut that down. And then this is pieced together out of what I had left. So the thickness of this for the belly band is 2 7/8 by 3 and 2 7/8 by 3. This was a 4x4 cut apart. I cut down to 3 1/4 by 3 1/2, backed it on some cardstock that's 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 by 3 1/4. And then this is 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. I also coordinated that. And this is 6 3/8, and it needs to be 2 3/8. I cut it too short. 6 3/8, 2 3/8. And then I will put in some solid, which is 6 3/8 by at least 6 1/2, but it could be as much as 8 3/8. And then the back, I did glue this on already. So we've got this pretty brown snowflakes. It's from the Magical Ornaments paper. And then I cut a strip from that 1 inch thick. The thickness of this is 6 3/8 by 6. And this is 1 inch 6 3/8 by 1 inch. I put that on some cardstock that is 1 1/4 by 6 3/8, and then I added some plain paper from the solids that's 6 3/8 by 2. And that is it. Now, at this point, I could, if I wanted to, use solids and cover all of this with solids, or I could keep the solids and use that as photo mats. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So if you just want to add your photos into the book without photo mats, or if you want to make white photo mats, you could do that. But I think I'm going to use the cardstock, the cording cardstock, the solids, and then just add maybe a 3/4 of an inch piece. These photo mats, incidentally, are 7 1/2 by 6. I just rounded the corners of that. So what I will do is add a piece that is 1/2 an inch or 3/4 of an inch by 7 3/8. I'll add one to each side. And that's it for the photo mats. I'm not going to add, I mean, I could fill it with white or with other paper, but the beauty of leaving it blank is then you can add any size photo to it. I mean, between 5 3/4 by 7 1/4. So you could put 5 by 7 photos in there. And then you could put them in any orientation. So that's why I don't add specific photo mats in my hidden pocket pages. All right, so I'm going to do another walkthrough, one more, this time with the everything glued in and the final decorating and stickers and all of the cut aparts, and I'll give you measurements for all of that. All right, so here's the final walkthrough. So there is the cover. We've already gone through there. I did add a couple of enamel dots in the corner just to add a little something. There is the spine. I added a very Pooh Bear Christmas to it. And then there is the completed back cover. So we have the waterfall, and here's the closure. I don't think I mentioned, but you need to put in a 4 by 6 piece of pattern paper on the back that hides the magnet. Now the other thing you could do is put the magnet underneath this pattern paper, the cut apart, but it doesn't have quite as much stick. So that is the cover. And of course, as I said, I don't like to add things to the waterfall. You could I mean, if you wanted to, you could even use copy paper. That way it doesn't get that thick. But I just figured you're just going to put photos on there. So I left that the way it is. I did back this on the craft colored cardstock and glued it on the bottom and the side. And it makes a nice tuck spot. At the end, I went through and made some tags out of leftover paper just to add a couple more elements to it. And there is one of our photo mats. All of the photo mats are 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. If they are a 3 by 4 cut apart. I did use solid cardstock to put on the hidden photo mat, and again I just added 3/4 of an inch by 7 3/8, so you could add any size photo you want. You could put a 5 by 7 photo on here, that would be perfect, or you could put a small cut down 4 by 6 or 3 by 4, or put a 4 by 6 photo on there. And again, you can use any orientation because you take them out so you can flip it as you look at the photo. So there is that. I won't pull out all of the other cut apart hidden pocket pages. So here we are with our coordinating pages using the 4 by 4 elements. Actually, that would go like that. So I just used 2. This one has the verbiage on it. This one does say to the North Pole, but it's sort of coordinated with it without being matchy-matchy, and you don't have conflicting words. You don't have a statement here and a statement there. You could. There's nothing wrong with that, but I liked how these just sort of went along. Now I did use a couple of different, this was the back of that. And then this one I used just green because I had that scrap and I was starting to run out of these 4 by 4 cut apart. So there is that hidden photo mat. And now this page has, I just had a tuck spot here. I used a circle punch to punch out what was that one from there? No, that one was from there. It was on the paper that had the 3 by 4 cut aparts, and remember I said I didn't use all of the 3 by 4 cut aparts, but there was an image there and there was an image there, so I just cut that out with a circle punch and added it onto a scalloped circle, added a little pine tree, and that says "Oh Christmas Tree" on it. I just wanted some little verbiage. And then this is just a small piece of scrap that I rounded the corners and put. Thought that would be great for little photos, or if you want a journal on there. And of course, you don't need to put these here. You could put a photo here and that it lifts up, so you could tuck a photo into there. This also opens up this way. I used that plaid to put some of the red coordinating solids on top of it. There's the other circle punch I used. And when I glued this down, I only glued it on 3 sides and have just a little spot for a little hidden tuck spot, a little interactiveness. Here's another scrap I had left. I like the design, and I don't have it anywhere else in the book. And there's the coordinating paper. This is a sticker backed on some red paper, backed on craft cardstock, backed on green. So I did a couple of different layers. I just really wanted to pull in all of the colors that were on the plaid. Here is a side loading pocket, and that goes back in there. I have a little sticker that says North Pole. All right, and then here is our little pocket. I had to cut down a 4 by 6 cut apart, so it's about 3 1/2 by 6 1/4. But I like how that looks right there. Just the Christmas tree just sort of blends in. I did cut down this 3 by 4 cut apart, and I made a tag with a little bit of the leftover paper. You will be amazed at how much I used. I will show you when we're done how much I have left. So here is the Winnie the Pooh Friends. I took, it's not the border paper, but it's got these same guys on a little bit bigger, and I just cut that out, rounded the top, backed it on some craft colored cardstock, rounded the top, and glued it on the bottom, so that makes a great tuck spot. Now, of course, you could put a photo here, and then that looks perfectly fine. So here we have our coordinating or matching side-loading pockets that are in the center of the page. That's what it looks like without decorating it. But I did add some cut apart. So that's a 4x6 cut apart. I just backed with whatever paper I had available. I like this to go like that. And then here's another 4x6 cut apart. And then here is that same paper. You could, even though it's got verbiage, you could still add a smaller photo because that's a 4x6 cut apart. So you could put a 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 photo on there and still have that blue border around it. But anyhow, that's there, and that goes in like that. Hidden photo mat. Here's our stacked pockets. I did put a sticker here. It's gonna put it on craft cardstock, but I just felt like it blended in and did not put it on the craft cardstock. There is a cut apart. Here is a tag again that I made with some leftover paper. Excuse me. This is just ribbon I had in my stash forever. Another sort of a tag. I didn't cut it like a tag. I just left it so you could journal and or add small photos. And again, you can add photos to the back of that. So there is that. And that just goes there just to show you it's there. And then I did take this snow globe, backed it on craft colored cardstock, glued it just on the bottom. So if you want to, you can add a photo. If you want to, you could add a photo onto the back of here, or you could just leave that like that. And then here's the belly band. It's a weird size photo mat. I was basically using what I had left. So the photo mat is 5.5 by 6 1/4. I just wanted something solid to go here because there was a lot of matchy because I had this 4x6 cut apart, which I thought looked nice in here, and it does. But again, it's pretty matchy, and I wanted to sort of alleviate some of that and tie in a little bit of the blue because you see it all over. And we already talked about this page. So a couple of things you could do as a closure. You could do 2 circle closures. You could do a eyelet with a string coming out and a circle closure, or use magnets, and I used magnets. So that opens like that. You've already seen that, and here's a couple of cut aparts. I cut this one down because I was just using the last of the paper and this was just a scrap. So I cut it down, but it's no big deal. And this actually is a little bit bigger. This is a 6.5 by 4.5 piece. So you could put a 4x6 photo on there, and that looks nice like that. And on the back cover, we've already seen that. So that is the decorating of the Winnie the Pooh Christmas. All right, and I'm going to show you real quick what I have left. I have a lot of stickers left. A lot of these really would apply if you're making Christmas cards with them. You know, Christmas greetings, Christmas wish, have the happiest Christmas, wishing you get it. So I didn't use them, although I could have used some more of the figures, but I didn't. Here's the cover sheet. And then this is it for the scraps. I mean, I have teeny ones that I probably threw out that are smaller than this, but I really didn't have much. You know, my goal is to use up a collection, although in this case I wouldn't have minded having extra so I could make Christmas cards. And then this happened to get tucked behind another sheet, so I didn't see it. I still could make some cut aparts with it. But that is what I have left. I also will remind you that there is several videos going along with this. There's the original tutorial to show you how to make this. There is the file in my coffee shop that gives you the measurements for a slight fee. And as well, I have other mini albums that I have made using the same tutorial. Obviously, it's not decorated the same, and it may not be live on my channel yet, but these are the 3 Christmas books I made using that same page style. So check out those videos. There is also one using some fall paper if you are still into doing fall decorating. All 4 of these albums, if they are not sold already, will be in my Etsy shop go ahead and get that. I know we're getting close to Black Friday, so I will tell you there will be a fabulous sale on Black Friday. I don't know if these books will still be available since I'm recording this ahead of time, but you can take your chances if you want. Please subscribe. I'm hoping to hit 10,000 people before the end of the year, and hit that like button as well. Thanks so much for watching. Have a fabulous day.